In 1964, at the Isle of Man TT, the most dangerous racetrack in the world, a rider on a 125cc motorcycle set a practice lap that nobody believed was real. The timekeepers confirmed it, the crowds debated it. Every rider in the paddock questioned it, and the most vocal person denying it was possible was the rider himself. That man was Luigi Taveri. Now, you might picture a terrifying motorcycle racer as someone loud, aggressive, physically imposing. Taveri stood 5 feet 4 inches tall. He weighed just under 128 pounds. He was Swiss. He was calm. He was precise. But Jim Redman, 6-time world champion, never once beat him in the same team. Hugh Anderson had to completely reinvent how he raced just to beat him a single time. And Soichiro Honda, the founder of Honda himself, personally invited Taveri's entire family to Japan when he retired. Today, 5 MotoGP legends will explain what the statistics alone could never tell you. Why Luigi Taveri, the smallest man in the paddock, was the name that made all of them think twice. Let's start with the man who knew Luigi Taveri better than almost anyone. Not as an opponent across the track, but as a teammate, inside the same garage, riding the same machines. Jim Redman. 6 world championships, Honda's team captain. One of the most intelligent, calculated racers the sport had ever seen. And in 5 years of riding alongside Taveri at Honda, he never once took the 125cc World Championship from him. Not once. Redman was no passenger. He dominated the 250 and 350cc classes with cold efficiency. But when it came to the 125cc, there was always one name ahead of him. Always the same name. At the Isle of Man in 1964, Redman had already won 2 races that week. He was leading the 125 with 1 lap to go. Then Taveri put in a shattering final lap, broke the record Redman had just set, and crossed the line 3 seconds ahead. Redman said it himself. Luigi Taveri, who was Honda's lead 125 rider, only beat me by 3 seconds, but I didn't win, and that's racing. But the story gets deeper. At Assen that same season, Taveri was injured in practice. The team manager pulled Redman aside and gave him one instruction. Not go win. Redman recalled it clearly. Aika-san told me I would have to ride the 125 race and just keep Hugh Anderson on the Suzuki from taking too many points from Luigi. His idea was never for me to win, just to keep Suzuki and Yamaha away from Luigi. Honda deployed their 6-time world champion not to win, but to protect someone else's title. That is not a decision you make for an ordinary rider. If Jim Redman could never beat Taveri from inside the same team, then Hugh Anderson represents something different entirely. Anderson came from the other side of the garage. He was the enemy. And what he had to go through just to beat Luigi Taveri one single time tells you everything. Hugh Anderson, New Zealand. 2 world championships. Suzuki factory rider. Off the bike he was modest and softly spoken. On the bike, he was something else completely. In 1963, Anderson became world champion in the 125cc class. That was the year he finally got past Taveri. But listen carefully to how he described what it took. Anderson spoke about a race at Clermont-Ferrand in France. He said, "I went there and made up my mind that if I could win the 125 race at Clermont-Ferrand, I could win the world championship. And that was the transformation in me. I was a changed person from Clermont-Ferrand onwards. That is what won me the championship." A changed person. He did not say he found a better setup. He did not say his Suzuki had more power. He said he became a different human being. Because that was the only way to get past Luigi Taveri. Then came 1964. Anderson arrived at the Isle of Man as the reigning world champion. Taveri had posted a practice lap that destroyed the previous record by more than 3 miles per hour. Nobody believed the time was real. Race day came. Taveri made a perfect start. Anderson's Suzuki began smoking heavily before the end of the first quarter of the opening lap and never made it any further. Not one Suzuki finished that race. Anderson had arrived as champion. He left without a single point. By 1966, most people assumed the story of Luigi Taveri was nearing its final chapter. He was 36 years old. The sport was getting younger. The two-stroke machines from Yamaha were getting faster. And Phil Reed, 8 years younger than Taveri and riding a factory Yamaha, was exactly the kind of rider the new generation was built around. Reed was not someone you overlooked. 7 world championships across his career. Aggressive, calculating, and completely unwilling to give an inch to anyone. And in 1966, Taveri took the world championship away from him anyway. At the Ulster Grand Prix that year, a race report described the moment simply. Taveri, the 36-year-old Swiss rider on the Honda 5-cylinder, pulled away to win. Reed finished behind him. But the number that stays with you is from the Isle of Man TT in 1965. Reed crossed the line first at 94.28 miles per hour. Taveri crossed the line second at 94.15 miles per hour. The gap between them was 0.13 miles per hour. Reed was 25. Taveri was 35. And then consider what Taveri was fighting against. Reed was on a modern 2-stroke Yamaha. Taveri was on a 4-stroke Honda, an engine type the sport was already beginning to leave behind. He was winning a technological argument that everyone said he had already lost. You could have youth, you could have a faster machine, and Luigi Taveri would still make you earn every single tenth of a second. Every rider we have talked about saw Taveri from a certain distance. Redman chased him from behind. Anderson and Reed fought him from across the garage. Hailwood shared one brief moment with him. Ralph Bryans saw him from the closest distance of all. Same garage, same briefings, same Honda machinery. Bryans was world champion in the 50C C-Class in 1965. Precise and fast enough to be trusted with a Honda factory seat. But inside that garage, nobody questioned who the 125cc program was built around. At the Japanese Grand Prix in 1965, Bryans and Taveri ran at the front together, trading the lead, pulling each other through in the slipstream. From outside, it looked like 2 equal teammates. From inside, everyone knew the truth. Honda's entire strategy depended on Taveri finishing ahead. Bryans was there to push him and protect him. After winning a race in 1966, Taveri quietly remarked that his Honda would most likely not have survived another lap. He drove the machine to the absolute edge, crossed the line, and set it the way a mechanic reads a gauge. Calm, factual, no drama. That is not recklessness. That is a man who knows exactly where the limit is and feels nothing but control standing there. When Taveri retired, Soichiro Honda personally invited the entire Taveri family to Japan. That is how Honda measured this man. 143 Grand Prix races, 30 victories, 89 podiums, 3 world championships at 32, 34, and 36 years old. The only rider in history to score points in all 6 Grand Prix classes, a record nobody has broken since. Jim Redman could never beat him in the same team. Hugh Anderson had to become a different person just to beat him once. Hailwood needed 2 lap records to stay 7 seconds ahead. Red had youth and a faster machine, and still lost the championship. And Bryans watched him push a dying engine across the finish line without blinking. So what made Luigi Taveri terrifying? Not the speed, not the aggression, not the noise. It was the silence. The stillness of a man who always knew exactly what he was doing, right up to the very last edge of what was possible. He never needed to believe in himself. He just needed to get on the bike.